Hi, are you someone who's considering to become a vegan but just don't know how? With the constant rise on the awareness of veganism in India from social media videos, podcasts, awareness campaigns, news reports, recipes, and so much more, there's a strong prevalence among many in the country to want to go vegan. But of course, the question then comes up, how? There is just so much to consider. How will I get my nutrients if I were to suddenly stop eating meat, dairy, and eggs? Will I even be able to afford alternatives to be a vegan? How do I eat out when traveling? Do I need to take supplements if I am a vegan? This video is designed to be a one-stop answer to all of your questions to being vegan in India. As this video is extremely long, I want to explain the different parts it has been broken down into. The first section focuses on vegan nutrition, where I explain which plant foods contain which nutrients like protein, calcium, and vitamins, examples of what I eat in a day, and also covers supplements needed for vegans. Second section focuses on the different alternatives that vegans have, like mock meats and plant-based milks, along with a list of foods found in the supermarket that happen to be vegan. The third section focuses on the difficulties one might face when transitioning to being a vegan and how to overcome them. The final section gives a basic understanding of nutrition science so that the other sections can be more easily understood. This is only for those who find the nutrient section too hard to understand. Apart from this are subsections within these four major ones. Please check the description or pinned comments to choose which one you want to skip to. Basic macronutrient breakdown. Calories can be broadly broken down into three sources or macronutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Carbohydrates. Plants are pretty much the only major source of carbohydrates for humans, be it vegan or not. All grains, legumes, and starchy vegetables are high in carbohydrates. Rice, millet, wheat, corn, barley, oats, chickpeas, lentils, potatoes, and sweet potatoes, to name a few. Fats. There are various different kinds of fats available for vegans. You can choose to consume nuts of various kinds, seeds of various kinds, or you could also choose to consume oils as a part of your cooking. Protein. I will be going very deep into the nutrition of plant-based eating now. In case you find it difficult to understand the language I use, or you're wondering how I come up with my calculations, please skip to the basic information and tools part of this video and come back here once you're done watching it. The human body needs 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. If you are overweight, you will not need this much, as a lot of that weight is fat. And if you are underweight, you will need to eat more protein to compensate for your lack of body weight. Athletes who do strenuous activity and are trying to put on muscle need to eat twice the amount of protein that normal people do. When you eat meat, it is easier to get protein as all of the essential amino acids are present in the exact combination and quantity that the human body needs them in. By consuming a combination of a grain and a legume, you will ensure that your body gets all of the amino acids that it needs. This is nothing too complicated. Just take a look at all of the traditional vegetarian foods eaten throughout the world. In South India, we eat idli, which is basically rice and urad dal. In North India, people eat roti with channa, which is wheat and chickpeas. In the Middle East, people eat pita bread with hummus, which is again wheat and chickpeas. In Central America, people eat bean burritos, which is basically a corn flour based wrap with black beans in it. If you are to stick to traditional Indian vegetarian foods devoid of dairy, you will most definitely be eating vegan food that gives you all the protein that your body needs, as almost all Indian traditional foods are a combination of a grain and a legume. Traditional foods are very high in carbohydrates. Now, here's the catch. When you consume lean sources of meat, you are getting a source that is around 75 to 90% only protein and only 25 to 10% fat. Now, say we took a food like chickpeas and looked at its macronutrient composition. Despite being a good protein source for vegans, it is 68% carbohydrates, 19% protein, and 13% fat, meaning this is not a lean protein source like meat, but rather it is a carbohydrate-rich food that happens to have quite some protein as well. So, a person eating 200 grams of white rice and 100 grams of lean chicken breast is eating around 433 calories and getting around 36 grams of protein from a meal, give or take. But a vegan, in order to get the same amount of protein from rice and chickpeas, has to eat 200 grams of white rice and 300 grams of cooked chickpeas, meaning they are eating almost 834 calories for getting 36 grams of protein. That is an extra whopping 400 calories. A combination of grains and legumes is indeed wonderful to add to your diet, but this may not be the best way for vegans to get their protein. Keeping them as your primary source of protein may make you add on extra weight, as you would have to eat eat way too many carbohydrates to meet your protein requirement. Therefore, it is good to limit traditional Indian foods to 1 to 2 meals per day. Let us now look at low carb options that vegans have. Low carb source of vegan protein. The first low carb source of vegan protein we can look at is soya chunks. 100 grams of soy chunks contains 52 grams of protein for 312 calories. It is 62% protein, 35% carbohydrates, and 8% fat. Meaning, if we are trying to now use soy chunks instead of chicken from the above dish, we will be consuming 200 grams of rice and 60 grams of soya chunks. This will give us 36 grams of protein, give or take, with only 442 calories. When comparing these dishes, you can see that soy chunks can be used as an excellent replacement for meat. The brand that I personally recommend is Saffola soya chunks. The nutrition profile on it is awesome, and once you are done boiling, cooling, and straining them, they maintain a nice meaty texture, which means you can add your favorite spices to them like you used to with meat and enjoy your soy chunks. Let's now talk about pricing. 1 kilogram of skinless chicken is currently rupees 200, but it's not all 1 kg flesh because it comes with a bone as well. So if we would be generous and say 800 grams is flesh, it comes to almost 250 grams of protein for 200 rupees. 1 kg of Saffola soy chunks comes to rupees 250 and equals to 530 grams of protein. Clearly, if you can afford meat as your protein source, you can definitely afford soy chunks as well. The next low carb vegan protein source is tofu. Tofu is basically soy milk mixed with a coagulant to make it a bit thicker. 100 grams of firm tofu contains 15 grams of protein for 140 calories. This, however, can slightly vary based on the brand and the type of tofu in question. Tofu is more calorie dense as it has more fat in it, but nevertheless can be a great high protein choice for vegans. I want to compare tofu to an animal-based food that is quite similar looking to it, and that is paneer. 100 grams of high-quality paneer contains 21 grams of protein for 369 calories. This too can vary based on the brand. Let's now talk about pricing. I am from Tamil Nadu, and here we get Briya's tofu, which is 200 grams of tofu for 100 rupees, and it contains 30 grams of protein. The same parent company Milky Mist also sells paneer, and that retails for around rupees 125 for 200 grams of paneer. So for 100 rupees you get 30 grams of protein from tofu, and for 125 rupees you get 32 grams of protein from paneer. Paneer is also far more calorie dense than tofu. In fact, 100 grams of paneer has more than twice the amount of calories than 100 grams of tofu. Tofu on whole is cheaper than paneer, but paneer on average gives you more protein for the exact same serving size. All in all, if you can afford paneer occasionally, you can surely also afford tofu, at least occasionally. Now, fair warning, tofu does not taste like paneer, and it definitely takes some time to get adjusted to the taste. There are millions of tofu recipes online. Pick one that works for you and go for it. The next low carb vegan protein source is tempeh. 100 grams of tempeh gives you around 18 grams of protein or 195 calories. It is 49% fat, 35% protein, and 16% carbohydrate. So, if you are looking to gain weight, tempeh is an excellent choice to make. Now, as far as my knowledge goes, there's only one major brand in India that currently sells tempeh, and it is Hello Tempeh. I have personally tried many of their products and can surely attest that they are really good. They come pre-packed with all the spices and everything, so you just have to heat the contents in a tawa, or you need to heat them in an air fryer and your food is ready. The only downside here is that when compared to other conventional sources, be it plant-based or animal-based, Hello Tempeh is more expensive. 200 grams of a pack of Hello Tempeh costs rupees 175. As my wife is from Southeast Asia, I have seen so many tempeh options in her country, and they are all very cheap. Hopefully, we will have more companies taking up producing tempeh in India too, and that too at a much cheaper price. So, if you're able to afford it, great, else you can skip and move on to the next option. Okay, pause, a quick break. You may have noticed how all the above foods I have mentioned are soy based, and this surely brings certain questions to your mind. Is soy dangerous for us? No, it is not. There is a lot of misinformation regarding soy on the internet. Soy does not have feminizing effects on men, and the best available scientific evidence has proven that foods like tofu, tempeh, and soy milk are nothing but health promoting for both men and women. But one does need to take a note of soy chunks. Those who have had a history of kidney stones in their family or have experienced it themselves need to be mindful of it and consult their doctor before consuming soya chunks regularly. This is because soy chunks are made using soy flour, and soy flour is very high in oxalates. These oxalates bind to the calcium in your urine and are excreted from the body. Some people do not, however, process oxalates so well, and a low consumption of calcium also causes oxalates to get get stuck in your urinary tract, forming stones. So, if you are someone who is predisposed to having kidney stones, you may need to avoid soy chunks and also other high oxalate foods such as spinach, amaranth greens, beet greens, and amla. If you have eaten any of these foods and never experienced kidney stones since childhood, you need not worry about soy chunks either. All the other options for protein that I have mentioned and will be mentioning on this video, that is tofu, tempeh, seitan, protein powders, and foods that are a combination of a grain and legume, are not high oxalate foods. Here's another fun fact about soy. It has all of the essential amino acids in the right quantity and combination that the human body needs them in, just like meat. It also may concern some people that vegan sources of protein like tofu and tempeh are not so easily affordable for everyone. So does that mean that such people are limited to only consuming soy chunks? Not exactly. If you're someone who feels they cannot afford tofu or tempeh, please consume cooked soybeans directly instead. Meaning, say you're making a side dish with 200 grams of chana. This will give you around 17 grams of protein for 328 calories. But if you replace 100 grams of that chana with 100 grams of cooked soybeans, when making your curry, you get a dish that has 27 grams of protein and is only 336 calories. Just 8 calories more for an extra 10 grams of protein. Just note that compared to chana or rajma, soybeans don't really taste that great. But hey, they are a viable option nonetheless. The next low-carb vegan protein source is seitan. Seitan is basically made from wheat gluten. Vital wheat gluten is made in a process where regular whole wheat flour is taken and the gluten is isolated from it. 100 grams of vital wheat gluten contains a whopping 75 grams of protein for 370 calories. Vital wheat gluten is 80% protein, 15% carbohydrate, and 5% fat. As far as I am aware, you cannot purchase seitan directly from any store in real or online anywhere in India. However, you can make it at home and I am going to teach you how. To make seitan, we obviously need vital wheat gluten, and this can be bought from a brand like Urban Platter where they sell 1 kg of vital wheat gluten for 700 rupees. Yes, it's expensive. In case you are able to find a cheaper option for vital wheat gluten, please share it in the comment section below. I'm first adding 80 grams of vital wheat gluten to a bowl. Next, I'm going to add 20 grams of chickpea flour, which is a legume, to even out the amino acid profile. And not to mention, if you make your seitan with only vital wheat gluten, I have noticed that it makes the final product really quite hard, which makes my teeth feel funny. So adding the chickpea flour softens it a bit. Now add water little at a time and keep kneading it till you get a lump like this. Now let's add a damp towel on top and let this rest for 20 minutes. Now after 20 minutes, you're going to add this dough to boiling hot water and let it cook for at least 30 minutes. I suggest keeping it on a medium to high flame. In that time, it is going to expand and become around twice as large as it is right now. After 30 minutes, turn it off and remove the seitan and allow it to cool. And there it is. You can now chop this up and use this as a meat replacement to any of your curries. If you feel this is a bit bland, which it is, you can try adding something like bouillon powder to it or some other seasoning while kneading the dough to get more flavor. If you have followed my exact recipe for seitan, this one piece of seitan would contain 62 grams of protein for a mere 330 calories. 69% protein, 24% carbohydrates, and 7% fat. Since prepping, cooking, and cleaning takes time, I tend to batch cook these on the weekend, put them in a Ziploc bag, and throw them in the freezer where they can last for weeks. Whenever you need one, just take it out and thaw it in the microwave. Do allow it to cool once reheated before cutting it though, as the hot vapor trapped inside could burn your fingers. The final low carb option for vegan protein is a vegan protein supplement. Now this is an excellent and almost pure protein source, meaning that when you consume this product, 95% of the calories you are ingesting come from protein. For those who are athletes, protein supplements can definitely come in handy. Vegan protein supplements are made from a wide variety of sources, be it from peas or soybeans or a combination of rice and peas. There are various vegan protein supplements found these days, but one that I can recommend in terms of quality always is from a brand called Unived. Their chocolate pea protein supplement both tastes amazing and doesn't leave you feeling bloated. Now, of course, protein supplements will be the most expensive thing on this list, but that goes without saying. For example, a pack of Unived's pea protein is Rs 2,550 and has around 686 grams of protein in total in the bag. In terms of pricing, it is higher than that of most whey proteins that weigh 1 kg. There are other cheaper plant protein powders too, like NACPro, Nature Island, and so many more. Just type plant protein powder on Amazon, see what fits your budget, and go for it if you want to. Volume eating. Another topic that keeps coming up when we talk about vegan sources of protein is volume eating. What this means is when consuming vegan protein sources, say like seitan or soy chunks, one has to actually eat more volumes of food. Have a look. This is 100 grams of soy chunks, which is around 52 grams of protein. This is the same 100 grams after having been boiled in water. By absorbing the water, it has increased in size, but the protein content still remains the same. Now, the same does not happen to meat. Meat does not swell up in size when cooked. If anything, it may even shrink, which means in order to get the same amount of protein as a vegan, you will have to eat more food, aka chew more. If you're someone who likes to eat a lot, like me, then this is good news. You get to eat more food but not gain any weight from doing so. But if you are someone who's lean, trying to gain weight and has difficulty in eating huge volumes of food, or have a severe time crunch when it comes to your eating window, protein powders will surely come in handy. Now, let me apply all these rules and show you all 2 examples of what I eat in a day. I currently weigh 90 kilograms, so I would need around 90 grams of protein. And in order to maintain my body weight, I would need around 2800 to 3000 calories per day. But just to show you how easy it is to get protein on a vegan diet without overeating carbohydrates, I am going to make it even harder for myself and reduce my calorie intake to only 2500 calories and still exceed my protein intake every single day. Today for breakfast, I'm having a ragi mudde that I have made with 100 grams of ragi flour, which I have drowned in copious amounts of sambar. This gives me 11 grams of protein. The total calories for breakfast come to 482 calories, with 72% being carbohydrate, 19% being fat, and 9% being protein. For a snack before lunch at 11 am, I'm having 2 of these sesame seed laddus, which gives me 4 grams of protein. This comes to 164 calories, with 54% being fat, 36% being carbs, and 10% being protein. For lunch, I have 200 grams of white rice, 60 grams of soy chunk masala, and 200 grams of cooked cabbage, which gives me 40 grams of protein. This meal comes to 614 calories, with 55% being carbs, 23% being protein, and 22% being fat. For an evening snack, I make a sandwich with 2 pieces of bread and 100 grams of tofu, which I make into a burji, which gives me 20 grams of protein. This comes to 350 calories, with 41% carbs, 35% fat, and 24% protein. For dinner, I have chapati that I have made with 100 grams of atta, and for side dish, I'm going to eat channa masala. So that comes to a total of 800 calories with 30 grams of protein, 57% carbs, 35% fat, and 24% protein. This brings it to a grand total of around 2500 calories for the day, with 108 grams of protein. I have easily exceeded my daily protein intake. And yes, the oil I put in my food has been included in the calories for the above example. Day 2. Today for breakfast, I'm having a tofu sandwich with 4 slices of bread and 200 grams of tofu. I'm basically making a tofu burji with some vegetables. This comes to around 700 calories and 41 grams of protein, with a macronutrient breakdown of 41% carbs, 35% fat, and 24% protein. For a snack before lunch, I'm having 2 of these sesame seed laddus, which gives me 4 grams of protein. This comes to 164 calories, with 54% being fat, 36% being carbs, and 10% being protein. For lunch today, I'll be having seitan curry with some 200 grams of lemon rice, which is basically rice, oil, spices, and a few peanuts. This comes to 745 calories with 43 grams of protein, with a macronutrient breakdown of 40% carbohydrates, 38% fat, and 22% protein. For evening snack, I'm making a salad. It's good to get some raw veggies in you once in a while, with 100 grams of cucumber, 100 grams of capsicum, 100 grams of lettuce, 100 grams of carrots, and 100 grams of beetroot. The protein content and even calories in this meal is negligible. I'm just eating it to get some micronutrients in. For dinner, I'll be having the same thing as lunch. This brings it to a grand total of around 2500 calories for the day with 135 grams of protein. That's a lot. Similarly, you too can apply the above information as examples to your life, make slight tweaks if necessary, and easily meet your protein goals as a vegan. And yes, the oil I've added to my food has been included in the above example as well. Vitamins and minerals. Now let's look at how to get some basic vitamins and minerals as a vegan. It would be impossible for me to go into every single one in detail, so I'm going to be covering only the major ones. Vitamin A. There is no natural source of vitamin A for vegans, but the body can convert beta-carotene, which is an orange pigment found in plants, into vitamin A. So foods rich in beta-carotene are carrots, sweet potatoes with orange flesh, pumpkins, mangoes, papaya, spinach, broccoli, tomatoes, and yellow capsicum. Vitamin C. Almost every single fruit and vegetable on this planet contains vitamin C. As long as some fruit or vegetable vegetable is present in your diet, you cannot get deficient in vitamin C. Vitamin K. This is found in all green colored vegetables. Leafy greens like amaranth, spinach, lady's fingers, broccoli, cabbage, green beans, kale, etc. Vitamin E. Nuts and seeds like almonds and sunflower seeds are high in vitamin E. Sunflower oil is high in vitamin E, so cooking some of your food in it can also be considered. B vitamins. Plants are not so high in B vitamins as opposed to meat, especially animal organs, which are very high in B vitamins. However, I will show you some plant sources below before giving you all a simple vegan hack in the end. B1. Thiamine. Eating grains like rice, atta and oats, legumes like chickpeas, rajma, moong dal, tur dal, urad dal are all good options for thiamine. So eating traditional Indian foods, which happen to be a combination of both grain and legumes, can easily get you all the thiamine you need. B2. Riboflavin. Almonds, broccoli and spinach have quite some amount of riboflavin in them. Mushroom is the vegan option with the highest amount of riboflavin naturally occurring in it. 200 grams of cooked mushrooms has 0.6 milligrams of riboflavin, which is 46% of your RDI, that is your recommended daily intake. B3. Niacin. Like thiamine, you can find plenty of niacin in grains and legumes, so eating traditional Indian foods that happen to be a combination of both is a great idea. Peanuts and corn are the two plant foods highest in niacin. You can try consuming a snack consisting of 200 grams of boiled corn and 30 grams of roasted peanuts few times a week. This simple recipe gives you almost 50% of your daily requirement for niacin. B5. Pantothenic acid. Pantothenic acid can be found in potatoes, sweet potatoes and grains like oats, wheat and rice. Mushroom is the vegan option with the highest amount of pantothenic acid naturally occurring in it. 200 grams of cooked mushrooms has 4.3 milligrams of pantothenic acid, which is 86% of your RDI. B6. Pyridoxine. Pyridoxine is found in varying degrees in different vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and legumes. And so an inclusion of something from each of those food groups in your daily diet is ideal. Bananas are an excellent source of B6. By eating just 2 large ones, you can get more than 60% of your daily needs. B9. Folate. As long as you eat something from the legume family, that is pulses and dals, it is impossible to be deficient in folate. Vegan B vitamin hack. Here's a simple hack to getting almost all of your B vitamins as a vegan, and that is fortified nutritional yeast. If you consumed 1 tablespoon, that is 5 grams of fortified nutritional yeast, you will get 258% of B1, 242% of B2, 109% of B3, 277% of B6 and 313% of B12. The only downside here is that fortified nutritional yeast is pretty expensive in India. 100 grams of fortified nutritional yeast would set you back by probably 400 rupees. Which means if you eat 1 tablespoon that is 5 grams every day, you will be spending at least 20 rupees per day and the box will get over in just 20 days. That's not really affordable, is it? But since the nutrient content is so dense and you exceed your RDI by huge amounts with a single tablespoon, you could consider consuming it once every 3rd day, meaning if you consume it on Monday, have the next serving on Thursday, and after that the next serving on Sunday, so on and so forth. This will meet almost all of your B vitamin needs perfectly. And that's because you are still going to be eating all of your regular plant-based food on top of this, and they too contain B vitamins. By consuming a tablespoon once every 3rd day, the box of 100 grams of nutritional yeast will last for 2 months, and you will be spending less than 7 rupees a day. What a steal! You can either consume it directly or just sprinkle it on top of your food. Cooking isn't even required. As for vitamin B5, which happens to be lacking in fortified nutritional yeast, just make sure to eat a few servings of cooked mushrooms every week and you should be absolutely fine. Minerals. Iron. All food in the legume family like lentils, chickpeas, rajma and soy-based foods like tofu are good sources of iron. Leafy green vegetables are also good sources of iron. In case you are someone who has previously been anemic and are worried about getting in enough iron, here's a simple hack. Add 1 heaping tablespoon, that is 12 grams of jeera seeds to 1 liter of boiling hot water. Now turn the flame to a sim and cover with a lid for 5 minutes. Once cooled, strain and keep the jeera separately. Also, did you know that iron is absorbed better by the body when vitamin C is present? Now all you need to do is chew and eat the softened jeera seeds while eating, say, a few slices of oranges. Also, drink that liter of boiled jeera water throughout your course of the day. And that's it. You got all of your iron for the day. In case you are anemic, it makes sense to get a blood report done, as vitamin B12 deficiency could also lead to anemia. I have a separate section about that as well, so if needed, do check it out. Magnesium. Magnesium is found in all kinds of grains, pulses, nuts, and vegetables. Eating a balanced diet consisting of all of those groups every day should get you the required magnesium you need. The grain that is highest in magnesium is whole wheat atta, with a cup that is 120 grams fulfilling 40% of your daily needs. And the legume that is highest in magnesium is chickpeas, with 200 grams fulfilling almost 25% of your daily needs. Manganese. Manganese is found in grains, legumes, and vegetables. It is not a trace mineral, meaning it is found in abundance in those foods. And you should not have any trouble getting all the manganese you need as long as you're eating a balanced vegan diet. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is found mainly in grains and legumes. So a balanced diet of both grains and legumes should be enough to meet all of your nutritional needs for phosphorus. Whole wheat atta has the highest amount of phosphorus when it comes to grains. 1 cup contains 422 milligrams of phosphorus, which is 60% of your RDI. Potassium. Potassium is found in various different fruits and vegetables. Bananas, potatoes, and sweet potatoes are the ones that are the highest in potassium while also being relatively cheap. Zinc. Zinc can be found in good quantities in quite a few plant foods. Soy products like tofu and tempeh, legumes like lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans, grains like oats, rice, and wheat, seeds like sesame, sunflower, and pumpkin are all good options. The vegan food that is highest in zinc is oats. 100 grams of oats has 3.6 milligrams of zinc, which is 33% of your daily needs. Selenium. Selenium is found in trace amounts in almost all plant foods. Grains like whole wheat, oats, and barley are very good sources of selenium. The vegan food with the highest amount of selenium in it is Brazil nuts. One single Brazil nut has almost enough selenium for 2 days. Sodium and iodine. Sodium is found in trace quantities in almost all natural foods. Iodine comes from the ocean and is found in all kinds of sea vegetables like seaweed. The best thing to do in this modern day and age is just consume iodized salt. Calcium. Calcium is probably the micronutrient that people think is the most difficult to get as a vegan. And that's because we've all been taught since we were children that calcium is found only in cow's milk. Calcium is a mineral found in the earth's crust and not magically found inside a cow's udder. Plants too contain calcium, and let's now see how we can get calcium as a vegan. The RDI, that is the recommended daily intake for calcium for human beings, is 1000 milligrams of calcium per day. Is it possible to reach that intake of calcium as a vegan every day? Oh yes, it's absolutely possible. I also want to clarify one thing in case you say that you're unable to meet your calcium intake or any other nutrient intake, say for a few days. Your body does not need to receive every single nutrient in perfect quantities every single day. Some days you might get only 300 milligrams of calcium, while on other days you might get 1500 milligrams of calcium. Your body keeps track of things in the long run instead of every single day. Scientists have devised a recommended daily intake so that it will be easier for people to understand. So don't fret too much about this. Trust me, you'll be fine. So with that, let's check out Arvind's top 5 hacks for vegans to get enough calcium. Sesame seed laddus. Sesame seeds have an insane amount of calcium in them, but this calcium is found only in either the black seeds or unhulled seeds. Buy a packet and measure out 100 grams. Put them in a small grinder and make it into a fine powder. This powder alone has over 1100 milligrams of calcium in it. Now take 80 grams of de-seeded dates and cut them into small pieces. Throw these with the powder and blend well. Now roll them into 10 evenly shaped laddus. Eat 2 every day and you will get 220 milligrams of calcium, and this is around 165 calories. That's more than 1/5 of my daily requirement. Easy hack. Ragi millet. Ragi millet is very cheap and extremely high in calcium. Instead of roti or rice, eat it for at least 1 meal a day. There are various recipes online that you can try out, such as turning it into porridge for breakfast or making it into what Kannadigas call as ragi mudde, and with 100 grams of this flour, that is what I'm going to make. These ragi balls total 333 calories and have a whopping 366 milligrams of calcium in them. That's more than 1/3 of my daily requirement. Easy hack. Prioritizing certain vegetables. Try to include at least 200 grams of any of the following vegetables to your diet every single day. 200 grams of cooked lady's fingers is equal to 154 milligrams of calcium. 200 grams of cooked cabbage is equal to 96 milligrams of calcium. 200 grams of cooked broccoli is equal to 80 milligrams of calcium. 200 grams of cooked spinach is equal to 272 milligrams of calcium. 200 grams of cooked amaranth leaves is equal to 418 milligrams of calcium. 200 grams of cooked kale is equal to 300 milligrams of calcium, and 200 grams of cooked green beans is equal to 88 milligrams of calcium. Oh, and do not eat amaranth greens, beet greens, or spinach back to back every single day. Once a week is totally fine. This is because even after cooking, these foods have a high amount of oxalates in them, and over-consuming oxalates in the long run could lead to kidney stone formations. So consuming them once a week is totally fine. Jeera water. Add 1 heaping tablespoon, that is 12 grams of jeera seeds, to 1 liter of boiling hot water. Now turn the flame to a sim and cover with a lid for 5 minutes. Once cooled, you have your own homemade electrolyte water that you can drink throughout the day. Also, don't throw away the now softened jeera seeds. Chew and eat them separately, or as and when they show up in the bottle when you drink from it. And just like that, another 100 milligrams of calcium added to your diet. Also, fun fact, by drinking that water and eating the boiled jeera, you have also fulfilled your iron needs for the day as well. Easy hack. Soy foods. Try to have at least 50 grams of soy chunks or 100 grams of tofu every single day. That is easily over 100 milligrams of calcium and 200 milligrams of calcium respectively. Points to note. Almost all plant foods have some amount of calcium in them. For example, 200 grams of cooked white rice has 20 milligrams of calcium. 100 grams of cooked channa has 49 milligrams of calcium. So all of these will add up to your total in the end. Let us now look at a day of what I eat to see whether I am getting in enough calcium or not. Remember how I showed you guys what I'm eating in a day to prove that I'm getting in enough protein? Let's take those two same examples again. On day 1, I have gotten almost 1400 milligrams of calcium. And on day 2, I have gotten almost 1100 milligrams of calcium. You can pause here to see the breakdown. And this is to prove that you don't need to eat anything different to get your nutrients in. What I ate for protein also gave me calcium. Probiotics and gut health. The human body has trillions of gut bacteria inside of it, with the vast majority of them found in our colon. Although there is no conclusive research yet on the exact role that gut bacteria play in our overall health, it is important that we engage in behaviors that encourage us to have a good gut microbiome inside us. Let us first understand the difference between probiotic and prebiotic. Probiotic means food that have living organisms, that is bacteria, inside them. When consumed directly, some of the bacteria escape our stomach acids and makes its way to the intestines to be a part of our gut microbiome. It is important to note that foods that have these kind of live bacteria need to be consumed directly and not heated, as heat kills the bacteria. Here's a simple example. Idli batter ferments due to the presence of live bacteria in it. However, when heated up, this bacteria dies off, and therefore idli or dosa cannot be considered a probiotic food. A fine example of probiotic food that non-vegans consume is curd. Prebiotic foods are basically high fiber foods like legumes, whole grains, and vegetables. These high fiber foods, when consumed, act as nourishment for the bacteria that already exist in your gut and helps them to grow even further. Now, are there probiotic foods for vegans as well? Yes, of course. There are foods like kombucha, sauerkraut, and kimchi, but these are not necessarily easy or convenient options for Indians. The good news is that there is no necessity that one must consume probiotic food as a vegan in order to get a good gut microbiome. Eating prebiotic food is more than enough. However, if you are worried about this, which you need not be, then please consider consulting a doctor and finding out what kind of probiotic supplements you can take. Probiotic supplements basically contain lyophilized bacteria, which means they have been freeze-dried. Once consumed, they come into contact with the liquids in your body and they will activate. These kind of supplements are usually only reserved for people who are ill and have taken a severe dose of antibiotics, which can severely hamper the gut bacteria. It is far more practical and sensible to just eat high-fiber whole plant foods as prebiotics for your gut microbiome, as high-fiber diets have other positive side effects as well, such as lowering your blood pressure and risk for heart disease. Vegans do not need to be too mindful of their gut bacteria because most plant-based food is going to act as a prebiotic for you anyways. However, one thing you should be mindful of is how you decide to introduce these high-fiber foods to your diet. If you're coming from a meat and processed food heavy diet and suddenly up your fiber intake, there's a high chance you'll feel very gassy and bloated. High fiber prebiotic foods like legumes will surely make you feel bloated initially, but once you introduce them little by little, your body and gut microbiome will adjust to the change. Now, I'm very sure there are many vegetarians watching this and thinking to themselves, but wait, I don't consume curd necessarily because it has probiotics. I consume it because it makes my stomach feel good. Whenever I get slight heartburn or feel indigestion, curd has always made that feeling go away. The only option for vegans is to consume any kind of antacid instead of curd during such scenarios. Supplements for vegans. Here are the following 3 nutrients that vegans may need to supplement for. Vitamin B12. The vitamin B12 requirements for human beings is 2.4 micrograms per day. If you are eating only whole plant foods, it is absolutely impossible for you to get this nutrient. If you are someone who is eating processed vegan food that has been fortified with vitamin B12, you will definitely be getting some B12. Foods like kombucha or tempeh also have vitamin B12, but they are either extremely expensive or you would have to consume inordinate amounts of them to reach your daily intake. Since neither of those are practical, it is absolutely mandatory, I repeat, mandatory for vegans to take a B12 supplement. Despite the requirement being only 2.4 micrograms, it is smarter to ingest a much higher amount, as your body may not be able to absorb all of the B12 that you ingest. My recommendation would be to purchase Neurokind OD, which is an over-the-counter supplement. It contains 1500 micrograms of B12 per pill, and a strip of 20 tablets costs around Rs 190. Since 1500 micrograms of B12 is indeed high, supplementing it in intervals of once every 3rd day is enough. Meaning, if you consume it on Monday, have the next serving on Thursday, and after that the next serving on Sunday, so on and so forth. Meaning, it'll cost you Rs 95 to consume 10 tablets a month, or just Rs 3 per day to meet your needs for B12. Let's say we want to get 2.4 micrograms of B12 from consuming animal products. I would need to consume 200 grams of chicken, 200 milliliters of milk, and eat 2 eggs to meet those requirements. This would cost around Rs 70 give or take. So, without any doubt, supplementing B12 for vegans is not more expensive than consuming animal products. Also, fun fact, nearly all animals raised in the meat and dairy industries have B12 supplemented in their feed. So, if you're thinking it is abnormal to supplement with B12 as a vegan, then you have to agree that it is also abnormal to feed animals B12 supplements and eat them so that the nutrient can be passed on to you. Vitamin D. Vegans have to supplement with vitamin D3, as natural sources for vitamin D for vegans is nearly nil. And not to mention, most people are not getting enough sunlight exposure these days. Unimed has a bottle for vitamin D3 that costs Rs 900 and contains 180 tablets. Each tablet contains exactly your RDA, so you're not going to overdose by taking 1 a day. Please do not take more than 1 a day without your doctor's permission, as excess vitamin D can lead to toxicity over the long run. When it comes to naturally occurring sources of vitamin D in animal foods, the major options are fatty fish like salmon and sardines. You would need to eat about 200 grams of either of them to get in your daily dose of vitamin D, which would cost anywhere from Rs 50 to 60. I'm not 100% sure about the prices here, as I got them from the internet, so please excuse me in case they are a little off. Since we have 180 pills in the bottle, if we divide the price by 180 days, we get 5 rupees. So it is 50 to 60 rupees for non-vegans versus 5 rupees for vegans, which means it sets you back as a vegan by 8 rupees in total a day to get your vitamin B12 and D supplements. So if anyone ever tells you that vegan supplements like B12 and vitamin D are expensive when compared to animal products, they are either severely misinformed or they are lying. Omega-3. People who eat meat get their omega-3 from fish. This omega-3 from fish is called as EPA and DHA. Vegans can get omega-3 from foods like walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds in the form of ALA, and the body then converts this ALA into EPA and DHA. The issue here is that the human body is not so efficient in this conversion, so relying solely on ALA is not a smart idea. The good news is that fish also get their omega-3 from a plant, and this plant is called as algae, and this algae contains both EPA and DHA. Algae-based omega-3 supplements exist on the market. Pick whichever vegan omega-3 supplement you think will work best for you and run with it. On average, as far as I have seen, these supplements cost around 1000 rupees per bottle, which contains say 60 pills, and some brands even suggest to consume 2 pills per day to meet the RDI. Meaning, if you are extremely particular about meeting your RDI, that is your recommended daily intake for omega-3 every single day, which is probably something even 90% of meat eaters do not do, then it would cost you around 35 rupees per day to consume these supplements. When it comes to fish, you can get the same amount of omega-3 from a fish say like salmon for just rupees 20 or 25. If you eat fish say once or twice a week and are worried about omega-3 when going vegan, then just supplement on those days alone to compensate. Please, I reiterate, if you are a vegan, you have to supplement with vitamin B12 and vitamin D3. If you fail to do so, deficiencies will most surely follow through. As for omega-3 supplementation, I leave it to your discretion. In case you just took a blood test and realized that you are indeed deficient in vitamin B12 or vitamin D, here's what you need to do next. Already deficient in B12 and vitamin D. Let us now talk about people who have been vegan for many years, just now did a blood test and realized, hey, I happen to be deficient in vitamin B12 and vitamin D. What do you do next? Well, firstly, you need to acknowledge the fact that you have not been regularly supplementing with vitamin B12 or vitamin D, and then need to start doing so. In case you have been supplementing every day for many years and still are deficient, which is something I have personally not come across myself in 10 years of being vegan and meeting thousands of people, but in case that is you should definitely consult a doctor and see what they have to say. When you are deficient, you not only need supplements to meet your daily requirements, but you also need a very high dosage to pull your body out of the deficiency. Vitamin D is measured in a unit called as IU, that is international units. And human beings need around 600 international units per day. But you cannot consume 600 IUs per day and expect to pull yourself out of a deficiency. At that point, you probably need to consume around 60,000 IUs per day, which is 10,000 times higher than the recommended daily intake. Supplementing such high doses for 2 weeks will surely bring your levels back to normal. Now, it is very important that you consult a doctor and have them prescribe the necessary supplement based on your blood work. Do not go around consuming such high doses of vitamin D without consulting a doctor. That could prove to be very dangerous. And no, do not think about consuming 10 normal dosed vegan vitamin D supplements at once. Please do not do anything like that. Tablets must only be consumed as per what is mentioned in the guidelines on the packaging or after having taken an opinion from a doctor. At the moment, we do have vegan vitamin D supplements when it comes to vegan supplements that meet your RDI. But there are no vegan supplements that give you vitamin D at very high dosages to pull your body out of deficiency back to normal. All of the ones that are sourced and do exist are sourced from lanolin, that is sheep wool. So if you are someone who's been a vegan for a very long time and are currently deficient in vitamin D because you took supplementing it so casually, your only choice right now is to supplement with what your doctor prescribes you to. Once you have pulled your vitamin D levels back to normal, then you can choose to supplement with something like Unimed every single day and be completely alright. At this point in time, vegans in India do not have a choice but to consume animal-based vitamin D supplements to bring their levels back to normal in case they are deficient. The exact same is true for B12 as well. In case you are deficient, you can choose to take an oral supplement or an injection that your doctor prescribes for you. The one good thing about B12 supplements is that they are all sourced from a vegan source, that is bacteria. Hey guys, Aravind here from the post-production of the video, and I have some great news. We have been able to find a vitamin D supplement that is sourced from a vegan source and also has 60,000 IUs in it. It is from a company called Zynano and they sell liquid D3. It is available on Amazon. And so if you are deficient, please do choose this option instead of the non-vegan one. And on with the video. And with that, we now end the nutrition segment of this video. And now we'll speak about how you can ease yourself into a vegan lifestyle. Vegan alternatives. Most people watching this don't necessarily eat meat, dairy and eggs because they're trying to watch their nutrition. They eat it because hey, it tastes good. I mean, let's be real. If you're eating fast food burgers, fried chicken, pizza, milkshakes, cakes, ice cream and biryani, you're not really eating for nutrition, are you? And yes, tea and coffee drinkers, I'm looking at you too. Now, the question that I hear often is, if I become a vegan, do I have to give up eating all of these foods and can I never taste them ever again? Well, the answer is both yes and no, and that depends on how much money you got. Basically, there are so many different vegan alternatives for animal products, and we are going to be looking into them now. But before doing so, it's always important to clarify certain things. Firstly, the following products, when compared to their meat and dairy counterparts, are more expensive. This is because unlike their animal counterparts, these vegan products are not given any subsidies by the government. So, if you are someone who cannot afford these products, then yes, you need to forego those tastes forever. But if you have the money and you really want to taste something that's at least 60 to 80% similar to meat, dairy, and eggs, then you have the following options. As the vegan population in India is relatively low, the demand for these products is not too high at the moment. So you may not find many of these products in the supermarkets you usually visit. So you'll have to check online on certain websites or apps to purchase them. Websites that I would recommend are Amazon and Vegan Dukan. You can also check on apps like Big Basket, Swiggy, Instamart, or Zomato. And finally, I have not been paid by any brand to say any good things about them. And just because I don't mention a particular brand or product doesn't mean that they're not good. Let's look at the list of dairy alternatives now. Firstly, for people who like to drink tea or coffee, these are your following options. You can choose to buy between soy milk, oat milk, or almond milk to experiment and see which one of them tastes most similar to the animal-based tea or coffee you used to enjoy. My personal favorite, unflavored soy milk, is nutritionally sound and a very healthy option. You can also try oat milk, as that is known to have a great mouthfeel and neutral taste like dairy, but that mouthfeel is achieved because trace amounts of edible oil is added to the milk, at least for most brands. In fact, oil is added to many, if not all, plant-based milks to give it a good mouthfeel. There is nothing wrong with that, but it is something I want people to be aware of when making their decision. I just realized while making this video that I'm not supposed to say oat milk or soy milk, because the dairy industry has legally taken action against companies for calling their products so. But there is no such rule saying that content creators cannot do so. When it comes to buying these plant-based milks in India, here are your following options. The brand called SoFit has some good soy milk options. They have unflavored, chocolate, vanilla, and kesar pista flavors. The unflavored is not fortified, whereas the flavored ones are, and they also have 10 grams of added sugar for every 100 milliliters. They all taste amazing, don't get me wrong, but I do wish we can have a better option of having the unflavored one with fortification as well. As of the making of this video, 1 liter of SoFit soy milk costs 155 rupees. Another option is the brand So Good, which sells almond, soy, and oat milk. I have tried their soy milk and it is very good, so I 100% recommend that. As of the making of this video, 1 liter of So Good soy milk costs rupees 145. 1 liter of So Good oat milk costs rupees 300 and 1 liter of So Good almond milk also costs 300. Pricey indeed. These are the only two companies I have personally tried buying plant-based milks from. And considering the price, even we do not regularly stock up on these and instead consume other foods to get our calcium and protein. For more details on that, please check out the according sections in this video. However, awareness should not be based on my experience. So I'm going to be listing out a few other brands as well that are available in India. You could try millet-based milk from Nourish You. You could try cashew oat milk from One Good. You could try almond, coconut, or oat milk from Only Earth. Again, this isn't everything. I'm just naming a few of the popular options. Now, if you are someone who is interested in consuming curd as a vegan, you could try the peanut curd from One Good, which tastes really good. There is also curd culture that is sold on the market. ULTX soya curd culture is an option I have previously tried with So Good soy milk, and it makes curd that tastes very similar to dairy curd. Just follow the instructions on the packet, and FYI, it may take a little longer for the curd to settle as compared to cow milk curd. There are also vegan curd recipes on the internet that with some basic ingredients and no expensive starter needed, you can make vegan curd at home. Do they taste as amazing as the ones made by companies? Well, that's for you to decide, but do know that the option to make your own vegan curd at home is available. If you're looking for ghee replacements, One Good also has a vegan ghee called as Prodigy that is trans fat free. There is also a brand called MK, and they too make excellent vegan ghee. Due to legal reasons, they had to relabel their products as interest-terrified vegetable fat, but trust me, it's a ghee replacement. I have personally tried both and I highly recommend them for ghee lovers. And for those wondering what exactly is vegan ghee, to put it in simple terms, it is basically different vegetable oils that are mixed in a manner where the fatty acids are rearranged to mimic whatever texture one is trying to mimic. And before someone comments, wait, vegan ghee isn't healthy, I agree. It isn't a health food, and neither is cow milk ghee, but that's an explanation for a completely different video. For ice cream lovers, you can try searching for vegan ice creams from the following brands. White Cub is a 100% vegan company and sells multiple different products along with ice cream. The flavors include almond coffee bite, Belgian chocolate, Berrylicious, Bliss of berries, bourbon vanilla, butterscotch, choco therapy. Basically, they have a lot of ice cream options. You can check out Papa Cream ice cream, which has vegan choco fudgy cake, vegan French vanilla, vegan sugar-free Belgian chocolate, chocolate, vegan espresso cookie, vegan mango flavor. You could also try Brooklyn Creamery, which has Brooklyn cookie brownie, salted peanut butter, acai berry, mango sticky rice, vintage vanilla giant cookie sandwich, chocolate truffle bonbon, chocolate and coconut chocolate coated bar, chocolate therapy choco bar, and much more. You could also check out Nomu ice creams, which has sea salt caramel gelato, chocolate chips gelato, cookies and cream gelato, dark chocolate gelato, fresh mango gelato, fresh strawberry gelato, pistachio gelato, berry blast gelato, basically a lot of gelatos. In Indian sweet stores, butter and ghee are simply lathered onto the product to give it that extra kick. But worry not, we vegans have you covered even in the sweets department. Enter Vijay Sweets, India's first ever all vegan sweet store. Trust me, you cannot go wrong with anything sold here. It all tastes so authentic without the dairy products. Buy some Mysore Pak or Alva or Laddu. Share it with your friends and trust me, they cannot tell the difference. Best part is they ship all across India. I even have an entire video reviewing the range of products, so if you're interested, you can check that as well. When it comes to vegan options for cheese, here are a few options. Plan B Parmesan block, Plan B classic slices, plant-wise Parmesan style shreds, Bombay Cheese Company cheddar block, Bombay Cheese Company mozzarella, Bombay Cheese Company mild cheddar powder, soft spot Parmesan, soft spot smoked cheese, Nature Owners mozzarella, Nature Owners cheddar. And I personally have tried none of them. At home, I just make my own vegan cheese by using cashews as a base and also add nutritional yeast, which adds a very cheesy flavor. Does it taste just like cheese? Kinda, I guess. If you are really craving for cheese and are vegan, this is another option. Just search for cashew vegan cheese recipes and you will get many similar recipes. Now, if you are someone who's looking for some good meat replacement options in India, here are a few options you can work with. Good Dot. Good Dot is, in my opinion, without a doubt, the absolute best mock meat brand in India, and quite honestly, the best mock meat brand I have ever tasted. They ship their products all across India and you can place any order from your website. You have to try the unmutton daba curry at least once in your lifetime. Although it looks like some instant food that comes in a packet, it tastes like a 5-star hotel meal. And if you can go to any one of their stalls in either Mumbai or Udaipur, do try their fried crispies. They are just too good, pun intended. I have an entire video on my channel where I review the options in their food stall. So if you're interested, you can check that out as well. Blue Tribe. Blue Tribe is a 100% Indian vegan brand that sells amazing products. They have frozen products that need to be either deep fried or cooked in an air fryer. The two products of theirs that I will wholeheartedly recommend are the plant-based chicken nuggets and the chicken shake kebabs. The kebab is really meaty. Shakahari. They too sell frozen products that need to be heated up. I would surely recommend their hot and spicy crunchy nuggets. They also used to sell these keema samosas and they were honestly really awesome. Although I cannot seem to find those on their site anymore, hope they haven't discontinued them. There are many other brands as well, but since this video is just so long, I'm not going to mention any more. By the way, remember my seitan recipe from the protein section? I sometimes turn that seitan into fried chicken and it tastes really good. So in case you don't want to buy these products, you can create pretty good meat imitations at home as well. Now, for those who are looking for alternatives for eggs, well, as far as my knowledge goes, we currently don't have any egg alternative vegan products in India. There is a brand abroad called Just Egg, and I've been told that their products are truly really good. But again, that's abroad. Here, if you want to taste something eggy, the best option you have probably is scrambling some tofu and then sprinkling a pinch of black salt on it before consuming. Black salt has a very egg-like flavor to it, but it is important to note that black salt needs to be sprinkled on top just before consumption instead of being mixed with the food. Otherwise, it loses its flavor. Now, say for example, you go to the supermarket and you buy Betty Crocker French Vanilla Instant Cake Mix Powder, which happens to be vegan by the way, even though it's not labeled as such. And you need to use an egg as mentioned in the instructions in order to hold the cake together as a binder during the baking process. Your options are to use ground flaxseed that's been mixed with water, or homemade applesauce as a binder. So, for vegan replacement of eggs in India at the moment, the above are your only options. But now, I think the more interesting question on your mind is, wait a minute, Betty Crocker French Vanilla Instant Cake Mix Powder is vegan? How did he even know that? In fact, what other products on supermarket shelves are vegan? And how does one even find that out? That brings us to our next section, vegan snacks. Many of the processed foods being sold in supermarkets are already vegan, even if they don't have the word vegan written somewhere on the cover. To find out whether something is vegan or not, we need to read the ingredients. First, check for the green dot. That way we can eliminate eggs, meat, and other animal-derived ingredients that have been used as additives during the manufacturing process. Read the ingredients list and look for a few keywords like milk, milk solids, butter, cheese, ghee, whey, honey, or carmine, which is an additive made from crushing red beetles to get a red color. If you see no such ingredients, then congratulations, you have a vegan product in your hands. We call these as accidental vegan products, and that's because the companies never intended to make them vegan. These products just didn't require animal products to make. Now, sometimes you may come across a product having a label saying may contain traces of dairy, milk, egg, etc. Don't worry, such products are also vegan as long as the ingredients do not contain any animal products. The reason they put may contain traces on the cover of some products is to warn the customers who have allergies. These products are produced in huge quantities in giant factories. In these factories, large containers are used to produce one product, and then they are cleaned before the ingredients for the next one are poured in. Despite thorough cleaning, there is still a chance that some residue of the previous product could be left in the container. So therefore, they mention that your accidental vegan product may contain traces. Basically, your money was not used to pay for the animal products but only for the plant-based ingredients. Here's another tip. Check the allergen section of the cover. If it has dairy, it has to mention it as an allergen, as there are many people who are lactose intolerant. Alternatively, you could also check the cholesterol content of the product. Remember, only animals produce cholesterol, not plants. So, if it shows cholesterol as 0, you can be certain that it is devoid of all animal products except honey. Now, I'm going to be sharing a list of common snacks that are available all throughout India, and all of these happen to be accidental vegan products. Please note, this is a very short list because this video is already insanely long. If you look around your local supermarket, you will easily find so many more products. Even though I know for a fact that these products are accidentally vegan, it always makes sense to read the label. And this is because we never know when companies suddenly decide to tweak their recipe. A few products that I used to enjoy in the past are unfortunately no longer vegan today. So be a responsible consumer and always read the label. Savory snacks. Lay's Classic Salted, Lay's Tomato Tango, Lay's Magic Masala, Kurkure Green Chutney, Kurkure Tomato, Haldiram's Bhujia Save, Haldiram's Moong Dal, Haldiram's Ratlami Save, Haldiram's Lemon Bale, Haldiram's Aloo Bhujia, Haldiram's Bundi, Haldiram's Soya Sticks. Apart from Haldiram's, there are so many brands out there that sell Indian snacks, and the vast majority of them do not have any dairy in them. Just check the ingredients. You will be surprised. Doritos Spicy Sweet Chili, Pringles Original, Pringles Desi Masala Tadka, Act 2 Popcorn Golden Sizzle, Act 2 Popcorn Classic Salted, Act 2 Popcorn Tomato Chili, Cornitos Nachos Crisps Sea Salt, Cornitos Nachos Crisps Peri Peri. Instant noodles. Maggi 2-minute noodles, Maggi veg atta noodles, Top Ramen Masala, Top Ramen Fiery Chili, Top Ramen Curry, Nissin Cup Noodles Veggie Manchow, Nissin Cup Noodles Masedar Masala, Ching's Secret Manchurian Instant Noodles, Ching's Secret Szechuan Instant Noodles, Ching's Secret Hot Garlic Instant Noodles, soft drinks, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 7-Up, Sprite, Mountain Dew, Miranda, Fanta, energy drinks, Sting, Red Bull, biscuits, Parle Hide and Seek Choco Rolls, Parle Hide and Seek, Parle Hide and Seek Black Bourbon Chocolate, Parle Hide and Seek Black Bourbon Vanilla, Parle Hide and Seek Coffee, Parle G Oats and Berries, Parle Hide and Seek Milano Collection Finest Choco Filled, Oreo Strawberry, Oreo's Chocolate, Oreo's Vanilla, Parle Crack Jack, and yes, the part of the ingredients that says artificial butter means not real butter. Britannia Tiger Crunch Choco Chip Biscuits, McVitie's Digestive. Don't forget the traditional Indian sweets like peanut chikki, peanut laddus and sesame seed laddus are also vegan by default. Peanut butter for the most part is always vegan, but some brands tend to add honey into some of their products like the Sundrop peanut butter with honey. So again, please be sure to read the ingredients always. All of your Kisan jams like mixed fruit, orange marmalade, pineapple and mango are vegan. Let's now look at different breads that are vegan. Modern Sandwich Supreme Bread, Modern Brown Bread, Modern Burger Supreme Buns, Modern Multigrain Super Seed Bread, Britannia Atta Bread, Britannia Pav, ID Whole Wheat Chapati, ID Malabar Parota, ID Wheat Parota. When it comes to chocolates, we have a few options and they're all dark chocolates. This is because dark chocolates by definition should not contain milk in it. Amul Dark Chocolate, Bitter Chocolate and Bitter 90% are all accidentally vegan. Amul Dark Chocolate Fruit and Nut, Amul Dark Chocolate Passion Wafers, Milky Mist Kapila 70% Dark Chocolate Fruit and Nut Delight, Milky Mist Kapila 70% Dark Chocolate Hazelnut. Let's now look at some cereals. Nestle Gold Crunchy Corn and Oat Flakes, Kellogg's Cornflakes Original, Kellogg's Multigrain Chocos, Kellogg's Multigrain Chocos Moons and Stars, Kellogg's chocolate muesli. Let's now look at some cake mix. Betty Crocker French vanilla, Betty Crocker chocolate, Pillsbury rich choco oven cake mix. Sauces. Almost all ketchups, barbecue sauces and mustard that I've seen is vegan, but you never know, so always read the ingredients. There are even vegan mayo products like Viva eggless mayonnaise, which even has a vegan label on the cover. There is dosa batter, hummus, aplam, Indian pickles. I must say there are just so many accidental vegan products, and if I were to go on and on, this video will be another hour long. How to order food outside? Okay, so firstly, the question on everyone's mind is vegan food found only in 100% vegan restaurants? The answer is no. Vegan food is found in almost every restaurant, cafeteria or street stall in India if one just knows what they are looking for. The rationale behind veganism is that one does not consume any animal products out of ethical reasons and not out of any purity reasons. There is no such rule that vegans have to only eat at vegetarian restaurants, or that vegans should not eat from utensils that are previously used to cook meat, dairy or eggs. Vegans eat wherever vegan options are available. However, by eating out at vegetarian restaurants, the only two animal products you would have to focus on avoiding would be dairy and honey. And being from India, there isn't exactly a scarcity for vegetarian restaurants. So below, I'm going to be giving you all a guide as to how to eat as a vegan when traveling out and eating at a vegetarian restaurant. There was this clip of me going viral around 2 years ago, and I'm sure most of you would have seen it.
Idli, dosa, chutney, sambar, puri, masala, chapati, kurma, poha, upma, pongal, khichdi, uttapam, idiyappam, lemon rice, tomato rice, coconut rice.
Most Indian breakfast options like idli, dosa, puri, bhaji, poha, upma, vada, chutney, sambar, kurma, etc. are all vegan by default. In some restaurants, especially in the more expensive ones, they tend to add ghee or butter to the sambar or gravies to show that they are fancier. In such cases, it's a better idea to ask the waiter as to whether ghee or butter has been added to those gravies or not. As for beverages like tea or coffee, you have to stick with black coffee or green tea unless you go to a really fancy place like Starbucks where you can order like oat milk, soy milk or almond milk. But for regular people who eat out at a normal tea stall, the milk-free option is now your only option. Come lunchtime, meals or thalis as they are called in North India are sold at many restaurants. You want to order the vegetarian meals and then swap the different foods there that contain dairy with other options. Say you are choosing a South Indian platter. You want to tell them to remove the curd and replace that with another sambar or rasam. The sweets always contain ghee or butter, so you could replace that with something as simple as a banana, which are available in most South Indian restaurants. Most restaurants will be happy to also give you an extra vegetable side dish, and just like that, a hearty vegan lunch is now ready. When ordering North Indian thalis, we need to swap the raita for some extra dal, the paneer dish with another side dish. In this case, I have aloo matar, and finally the sweet with some other side dish. Here I'm having some channa masala. The use of ghee and butter is far more ubiquitous in North Indian cuisine, and therefore you need to make the effort to ask the restaurant as to which options are dairy free. One good thing is that many Indo-Chinese foods are vegan. This means all of your fried rice, noodles, Manchurian, 65s, etc. Indo-Chinese food does not have dairy in it, so as long as you avoid, say, the paneer Manchurian or any dish that contains honey, you are good to go. I'm sure there are many introverts out there watching this video, and I have some bad news for you people. When eating out as a vegan, you do need to interact a bit more with the waiter than usual, because unless you're ordering something so simple as idli and sambar, you can't be so sure that it is vegan, and therefore you need to talk to the waiter and confirm things. You could also tell the waiter to communicate to the chef and customize your food in case that option is available. I was traveling around so much of North India last year, and I only speak basic Hindi. Since my only choice was to eat out when I stayed at hotels, I had to customize my meals every single time. For breakfast, many hotels usually have a buffet option. We checked with the manager at the buffet as to which foods are vegan and picked the usual options, as you see in the photos. The beverage in the cup is just a small carton of Sofit soy milk that we brought with ourselves. For lunch and dinner, we informed the waiter our restrictions about not using dairy or honey in any of our food. Occasionally, we ate at some fancy Chinese restaurants where we asked them to replace the eggs in the otherwise vegan dishes with tofu instead. And guess what happened? Those restrictions were met every single time, no hassle whatsoever. Many of our street stalls and chaat stalls serve things like samosas, puffs, pani puri, bhel puri, vada pav, misal pav, etc. They are all vegan unless you are visiting a high-class restaurant. You just need to tell the person preparing to avoid the curd, butter, or any other dairy product present when it comes to chaat food. But we do have to talk about one thing when eating out, and that is so many subpar ingredients are used. God knows how many times they keep reheating the same oil, and there's just so much salt and grease in everything. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is, if you're eating out, forget about eating healthy. Doesn't matter if you're a vegan or non-vegan. If you want to eat healthy, cook your food at home. Okay, you may now ask, what other options are there? Can vegans go to regular bakeries to buy stuff like cakes? Is there any restaurant where I can just go and eat hassle-free without having to pour through the menu and then spend 10 minutes talking to the waiter, making him understand what should and should not be there in the food? This is a good time to talk about the free app called Happy Cow, which when installed shows you all the vegan restaurants around in your city. If you live in a metropolitan city, I'm sure you can find a few 100% vegan restaurants, or at least restaurants that have options that have been labeled as vegan already on their menu. It also helps to join a group like, say, India Vegan Revolution on Facebook, where you can make posts to find out if there are vegan shops or individual entrepreneurs in your city who can provide you with options. Being part of a community always helps. And there are tons of online groups and WhatsApp groups for vegans of different cities in India. On Instagram, you could DM Vegan India Movement and they can put you in touch with groups in your city as well. Addressing cravings. Cravings are a part and parcel of giving up any habit that we are attached to. Despite seeing horrifying visuals of brutalities happening to animals, when I was making the effort to change myself 10 years ago, I would still get cravings. During those times, I would tell myself I need to bring back those visuals to my mind to remind myself as to why I wanted to be vegan to begin with. Although cravings are not a justification to harm animals, we do need to recognize them as an issue faced by some people when they are initially moving into a vegan lifestyle. Cravings themselves subside over time, but can unfortunately lead to many people's downfall, especially during their vulnerable transition period. So therefore, let us discuss some ways to effectively tackle these cravings and if we can prevent them from ever occurring. Tip number 1. Don't miss a meal. You might be having a very busy day, but please do not skip breakfast, lunch or dinner, especially when you're initially transitioning into a vegan lifestyle. Because when you're hungry, your brain just wants food, especially the ones you used to previously enjoy. Walking along the streets or a cafeteria while you're hungry and then smelling every single meat dish being cooked there will make those cravings hit you like a truck. Never miss a meal or leave yourself hungry, as then the temptations start getting stronger. Tip number 2. Eat junk food. As controversial as this sounds, this statement holds true, especially if you're someone who's already used to eating a lot of junk food that contains meat, dairy, and eggs. Say, for example, you are someone who likes to eat at non-veg fast food chains, or you always pig out on ice creams and cake. And now, as a vegan, if I ask you to eat boiled chickpeas instead of fried chicken and fruits instead of cake, you are most surely to get cravings that will make you feel like you're losing your mind. In order to make the transition successful, your first battle should be to move from eating unhealthy non-vegan foods to eating unhealthy vegan foods. This could be something like samosas, vada pavs, pakora, accidental vegan foods, even those mock meat alternatives. For more information, please do check the vegan alternatives section and the vegan snacks section of this video. Once you have been eating unhealthily as a vegan for quite some time and have gotten accustomed to it, then you can try eating healthily as a vegan. Going from one extreme to another is indeed a drastic change, and this needs to be recognized in order to ensure that you don't get cravings and end up giving up altogether. Tip number 3. Avoid adding many restrictions during your initial days. This kind of ties into tip number 2 of eating junk food. When transitioning into a vegan lifestyle, you want to recognize that you are indeed making a big shift when it comes to changing up your dietary habits. Your tongue, which is connected to your brain, are both used to feeling certain tastes and textures. And when these sources are suddenly stopped, there will be a period of discomfort for the brain for it to recalibrate itself and happily accept the new kind of food. Since this transition period, which can last anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, depending on the individual, can be quite a bit rough, do not make it more difficult for yourself by adding in more restrictions like a weight loss diet or a raw vegan diet because you saw a YouTube video of someone saying that humans are not supposed to eat cooked foods? And yes, I'm going to be addressing that last point specifically in the next section. The point is, try to make your vegan diet as similar to your non-vegan diet as possible. Don't add any extra restrictions on yourself in the initial days. Once you feel you have reached the point where you no longer get any more cravings, then feel free to try for a weight loss diet or any kind of variation that you want. Tip number 4, learn to cook. Let's be real for a minute. Cooking is a basic survival necessity. Most people in India just depend on their mother to cook for them, and many men grow up never learning to cook in their lives. When choosing to become vegan, many people's family do not support them at all, mine included. And eating out at restaurants all the time is in no way practical or healthy. So get in the kitchen and learn to cook. There are quite literally millions of vegan recipes on the internet, both Indian and foreign. Pick whichever ones you like and go for it. Although in the beginning, I would suggest you to keep it to the basics, meaning sticking to traditional Indian foods like sambar, poha or chole before moving on to learning how to make fancy foods like say vegan pizza. Also, when you search for these recipes online, especially the Indian ones, you don't have to type the word vegan in front of the title of every single recipe. You could just follow a vegetarian recipe and replace the few dairy products mentioned there with something else. For ghee or butter, use oil. For any kind of creamer, use coconut milk. Instead of paneer, use tofu, so on and so forth. Another tip that can help with busy people is batch cooking. Whatever you prepare, you can prepare in bulk and freeze it in different small containers. And when it comes time to eat, you just need to heat the container and eat it. This type of prepping can play a key role for those who lack the time to cook often, and failing to do so will only lead to delayed food, which means hunger and therefore more non-vegan cravings during your transition. And for those wondering, no, freezing does not make the food lose any nutrition at all. Groups to watch out for and things to avoid. With the advent of social media, there's a plethora of information on the internet, but it becomes very hard to separate what is true from what is false. With that being the case, I'm now going to tell you what and all you need to avoid when transitioning into a vegan lifestyle in order to ensure that you don't fail within just a few weeks. And no, I am not referring to non-vegans or people who speak against veganism. I'm talking about vegans who misguide people, unintentionally mind you, and unfortunately make people revert back to eating animals. So this is what you need to watch out for. There are plenty of people on the internet who use the word detox. They speak about how the current foods you're eating are unhealthy and are therefore clogged up in your body, especially your digestive tract. If you are trying to become vegan, please avoid all advice given by such people during your transition. If you hear the word detox being thrown around ever so often, please tune out immediately. There are also people who speak about raw veganism, which basically means a diet where one does not eat any cooked foods and eats only raw fruits and vegetables. They say that cooked foods are bad for humans and that eating raw can cure almost all diseases. There are many raw vegans that come up with their own conclusions based on their personal experience, and most of these conclusions are scientifically wrong and in some cases even very dangerous. Now, it is not fair of me to speak against a group or its beliefs without substantiating why I am saying so. But if I did so, this video would be even longer than it already is. So I promise to make another video separately making a case against detoxes and raw veganism. Also, mind you, the vast majority of these people are vegans like myself. And I want to emphasize that I have nothing but love and respect for my fellow brothers and sisters who are also vegan. But when you promote something that can confuse the public, especially those who are just starting out to become a vegan, then I have to call it out. Please do not take this as a personal attack of any sort. In my opinion, I don't think any of these people have any kind of negative intent, but just that they have been heavily misguided. I personally have a hunch that many of them could be suffering from a condition called as orthorexia nervosa, which is an eating disorder. For more info on this, check out the section titled Eating Disorders and Unhealthy Body Weight. But here is the reason why I tell you not to follow such advice. Such advice can make eating very, very restrictive. And when you're trying to become vegan, it can already feel extremely restrictive as it is. These kind of restrictive diets lack many nutrients and can leave you feeling tired, dizzy, nauseous, or even give you digestive issues. Many people end up concluding that veganism is just not meant for them after weeks of such negative experiences, when in reality they were misled into eating an unbalanced, unhealthy, and restrictive diet for absolutely no reason or benefit to them whatsoever. When becoming vegan, I would suggest that you keep the first few few months to finding out all the different vegan foods that you like to eat, what works for you, and makes it easy and comfortable as possible for you to stick to this commitment that you have made for the animals. Eating disorders and unhealthy body weight. If you are someone with an eating disorder or have had body weight issues in the past and now want to become a vegan, firstly I want to say, welcome to the vegan family. Thank you so much for making this decision. But there may be several things that you have to be wary of, seeing that you have a special condition. In order to make it clear, I'm talking about two specific conditions here: anorexia nervosa and orthorexia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa is a mental health condition where the individual tries to keep their weight as low as possible and feels that any weight gained is just too much. This can involve many methods, such as forcing oneself to vomit, using laxatives, or not eating enough. Orthorexia nervosa is a mental health condition in which the individual has an obsession with healthy eating and associated restrictive behaviors. I am not a doctor, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist. I am by no means telling people with eating disorders what they need to do in order to better their lives, but rather just pointing out the potential pitfalls that they can try to avoid. But why am I mentioning this in a video regarding veganism? It's because unfortunately veganism sounds like a diet of deprivation. Because even in the beginning of this video, before mentioning what vegans do eat, I mentioned what we do not eat. Therefore, for people suffering from anorexia, this may seem very attractive, seeing that they don't have to eat certain things. If you are someone who is suffering from anorexia nervosa and are choosing to make the commitment to be vegan, please understand that this is a commitment that you are making for the animals. If tomorrow, after becoming vegan, you continue along an unhealthy lifestyle, it not only affects you but also creates a negative image about veganism to the general public. As someone suffering from an eating disorder and choosing to become vegan, you have more responsibility on your shoulders than ever before. This is why you need to consult a specialist who can understand your condition properly and help you make positive changes accordingly. The truth is, there are crores of Indians who suffer from mental health conditions and they go undiagnosed. The difference is that this mental health condition can be seen visibly on the outside, and so you are judged even more harshly. We all go through various struggles in life, and being born with a particular condition that makes life harder for you than others does not make you any lesser of a person, it just makes your life harder. So, my advice is, please seek proper medical help. As for the potential pitfalls you have to look out for, it's simple. The vast majority of many whole plant foods are calorie dilute, which means they don't contain a lot of calories, especially in comparison to meat or certain processed dairy products like cheese. Also, whole plant foods are very high in fiber and water, making you feel much fuller sooner when you eat them. If you are an overweight person struggling with weight loss, then veganism is like a godsend for you, because you can eat so much volumes of whole foods, feel full, and still lose weight. But now you're probably able to understand why this is bad for someone who's suffering from anorexia. So, eating whole plant foods high in fat and also dried fruits will help you in getting more calories in while also not feeling too full. These include foods like coconuts, almonds, walnuts, pistachios, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, peanuts, dates, dried figs, dried apricots, and raisins. Closing statements. And that's it. I'm done. I hope that this video has provided you with all the information that you needed to make your transition to a vegan lifestyle comfortable and successful. Remember, old habits are hard to break and new habits are hard to form. I am not saying that changing from your current dietary habits to a vegan will be the easiest thing in the world. But now that you are armed with all of the above information, you can surely avoid many pitfalls and plan well for the future. All the best. Please do live vegan, and I will see you all next time. Until then, this is Arvind, Animal Activist, signing off. A realistic outlook on nutrition. The human animal evolved in the jungles where nutrition is hard to come by. Your body has evolved taking into consideration what it needs to do in case it does not get enough food or nutrition. Humans have fat storage for a reason. It is in case we do not get enough food, our fat reserve will be used to fuel us. If we took a healthy human and fasted them on nothing but water, it will take 3 weeks before this person even begins showing a slight deficiency in any nutrient. The human body also has an adaptation called as autophagy, wherein when there's a lack of nutrients coming from food, it will use the stores it has within the body temporarily to compensate. It is important to be educated on the subject of vegan nutrition when we decide to change, but the main point is do not become obsessed with it. In case you do not get in enough nutrients on one day, but then you get back on track a few days later, everything will be fine. Like I mentioned earlier, the diets you have probably grown up eating are also not perfect. And guess what? Diets don't need to be perfect. Your human body, which evolved in an environment of scarcity, is not so weak or incompetent that it cannot adjust for minor errors. A brief explanation on protein. A protein is a compound that is made up of various different amino acids. Amino acids come together in various different forms to create different proteins. There are only 20 amino acids in total that the human body needs. The human body can fabricate many of the amino acids it needs by itself. These are called as non-essential amino acids. The human body also needs to get certain amino acids from an outside source, that is food, and those are called as essential amino acids. There are 9 essential amino acids for humans, and they are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. All of these 9 essential amino acids are found in plant foods. I repeat myself, all of these 9 essential amino acids are found in plant foods. So, if someone says that plants do not have all the essential amino acids, they are either severely misinformed or they are lying. Some plants have a very low presence of certain amino acids while being higher in others. If we are to look at grains, we see that they are low in amino acids like lysine and histidine. However, these same grains are high in amino acids like phenylalanine and cysteine. Conversely, when we look at legumes, we see that they are low in amino acids like phenylalanine and cysteine. However, these same legumes are high in amino acids like lysine and histidine, meaning that the lack in amino acids in one food group is made up by the presence of the same amino acids in abundance in the other food group. When we eat a combination of both a grain and a legume, we will be sure to get all of our amino acids in the right quantity. Basic information and tools. Now, you all probably heard the above information and are probably thinking, how on earth does he know how much protein or calcium is actually in his food? How does he know how many calories he needs to eat? What even is a calorie? Don't worry, I'll be covering that and the basics of human nutrition in this section. Human beings consume food in order to provide their body with energy to do a range of things from breathing, moving, to keep warm or any other voluntary or involuntary physical action. Food provides our body with energy, and this energy is measured in a unit called as calories. The amount of energy, that is food, a person would require depends on various different factors. Their gender, age, and physical activity, to name a few. Meaning that a 30-year-old man who engages in a lot of physical activity will have a different energy intake, aka food intake, as opposed to a sedentary elderly woman. To find out what your caloric needs are, you can visit a free website like calorieking.com and click on tools and then choose how many calories should you eat. Answer the questions asked and you should get a rough estimate as to how much you need to be eating based on whether you're trying to lose weight, maintain weight, or gain weight. Do note that your activity level drastically changes how much energy your body needs. If you are someone who's extremely particular about your diet and want to measure out every single nutrient you eat to make sure you're meeting all of your needs, then please use a free app like Chronometer. That is what I use to measure out the nutrient profile of various foods when making this video. Now, if you notice in Chronometer, when you input the food you eat, it asks you to input the quantity you ate. So take for example, I ate white rice. I go down here and make sure to choose grams, and then I input here say 200 grams. And now we can see how many calories and different nutrients I have consumed. And like that, you can go on adding different foods. Also, when choosing a food, say for example chickpeas, and you are eating cooked chickpeas, you have to be sure to choose the cooked option instead of the raw option, because cooking changes the nutritional profile of a food. All these little details are very important. The roster for list of foods is very high here, but being a Western app, it may not always get everything correct, and sometimes may not even have Indian foods that we are looking for. I'll teach you what to do in such scenarios as well. well. Now, how do we know that you've consumed 200 grams of rice or say 1 cup of atta? What even is a cup or a tablespoon? This is where certain tools can come in handy. The first one being a kitchen scale. They are not too expensive and are easy to use. Turn the machine on and place the food on top, like say this apple, and we can see how many grams of apple we are eating. But say you wanted to measure 3 apples or wanted to measure out 100 grams of soy chunks. There isn't enough space here to measure it all. In that case, take an appropriately sized bowl, place it on top of the scale, and then turn it on. This way, the bowl has taken a weight of 0 and only what is being added to the bowl is measured. And that way we can easily measure out food that wouldn't otherwise fit on the surface of the scale. Here are some other standard rules to follow when measuring your food using a kitchen scale. If it happens to be cooked grains, measure it after it has been cooked. For anything that has been ground to a flour like atta, measure the flour when it is dry before adding water, because adding water increases the weight of the dough. If you are measuring something from the legume family like dal or chickpeas, measure it after it has been soaked in water for at least 8 hours. Do not measure when dry or after cooking. However, when inputting the weight measured on chronometer, choose the cooked chickpeas option. This is because after cooking, the chickpeas may again change in weight and composition, but you're surely getting all the nutrients of the soaked weight that was initially measured. Foods that need to be cooked and then drained like soy chunks need to be weighed dry, as boiling makes them weigh more. For vegetables, measure before cooking, as the weight of the vegetables reduces after cooking because they lose water. However, on the chronometer app, choose the cooked option for the said vegetables and input the weight measured in the raw form there. For nuts or seeds, just measure it dry. Fruits need to be measured with the peel off in case you're not eating the peel. Another useful measuring tool to have in your kitchen are these measuring cups, which measure in units of 1 cup, half cup, tablespoon, teaspoon, etc. These are standard units of measurements used in cooking all across the world. Please note that these measurements are not absolutely necessary to be a vegan, but merely for those who are extremely skeptical and want to make sure that they're 100% meeting all of their nutritional requirements. This last section of this chapter is seriously only for nerds. I'm going to go into some super duper detail here. So if you are a normal human being, I would suggest that you skip this section. Now say for example you type idli on chronometer. It says that for 1 idli you get 102 calories. But idli is not a unit of measurement. They can vary in size. One recipe to make the batter can have a little more urad dal than the other, so you cannot just type out something like idli, roti or sambar on chronometer and expect to get a proper result, as the recipe used changes from place to person to batch made. So if you're very keen to know in detail about every single calorie you eat, what you need to do is measure the ingredients separately and keep a note of that before cooking, and then divide them into batches or countable numbers. Say for example you are making idli batter, you're going to be using urad dal and idli rice. On chronometer, there is no option given for measuring cooked urad dal. Instead, we only have this one generic brand that measures in dry weight. Since that is the case, we will also measure the weight of our urad dal in dry weight before soaking and then input that in chronometer. Now, it is impossible to find out the weight of the rice we are measuring after it has been ground up and cooked. So instead, we will measure the weight of the rice raw and input that quantity in chronometer under the option raw rice. Now you might ask, why can't we just measure out the weight of the rice once it has been soaked and input that under the cooked values like I've asked to do with different dals? This is because soaked rice absorbs far less water than cooked rice. After inputting both those values, say we get a total of 800 calories. And once the batter is made and cooked, we get 10 idlis. This means each idli is 80 calories. It's just simple math and common sense. Now I repeat, do you have to do this to be a vegan? No, I think only scientists note things to this degree. But since I've decided to go super detailed in this video, I decided to cover this as well.